Alright, Fake Goodwin here, and eventually we will. So, I got the AC on to kind of muffle the sound of my very small, loud children downstairs playing around, and my camera seems to be slightly out of focus or something. But let's go ahead and dive into this review, episode 3 of Stargirl. Great show so far, by the way. If you haven't seen it, I recommend checking out the first 2 episodes. Watch them back to back now that they're both out, and watch them on the DC universe, because I don't know the departures from there's a different runtime between the CW and DC universe one. I bet I haven't personally watched it on CW, so I can't confirm that really. Maybe they play the whole episode on there without editing anything out. Anyways, like, subscribe, share, stay awesome, invite more people to my channel, comment down below, start a conversation, what you didn't like and what you did like about the episode. So let's start with the best things about this episode. For me, seeing Icicle come back, and getting showing his past, getting an idea of what his motivations are, really fleshing that out. That this episode did a lot of that. It also showed us that there's kind of layers and different sides to this guy, where he is likable at certain points. I kind of feel like they did. He is a likable villain right up until the end, and then they kind of just undid that. But his past, there is a real depth of character to him. You know, in this episode they reveal his son and the kind of person his son is, and you know, maybe he'll help Courtney down the line. He doesn't seem to have any knowledge of who his father is, but I don't think he's going to be that great, because he is Icicle Jr. But Icicle's motivations and the different things he does throughout this episode make him likable, like I said, right up until the end. So we see more of Brainwave and his son, and there is a moment where, and you know, full disclosure, there's going to be spoilers all throughout this. There's a moment where it could have been Brainwave reaching out to his son, or his son potentially starting to show those powers himself. But I'll be curious to see. I kind of lean more towards that it's Brainwave trying to reach out to his son, because Brainwave's not done yet. But there is also that thing for his son, you know, that journey to go on and discover his own abilities, discover who his father really is. But we get to see more of the JSA. This is the one thing that I really, really enjoyed of the whole episode. The JSA round table, you know, seeing all their trinkets, having their names dropped, Dr. Fate, Starman, of course, but Al, and seeing that his Al's been there the whole time. But there is a pretty interesting discussion going back and forth between Courtney and Pat during this situation, and it's hard not to. It's hard to take a side, because you can see where they're both coming from. You know, Pat expresses that you need years of experience, because these guys did just get rocked. They got annihilated by the Injustice Society, so you can really see Pat's concerns about not going up against them, because what happened to these guys that were vets at this, they all got taken out. So when Courtney is talking about how they could all start up and, you know, start a new society, it gets really interesting. Of course, we know this is going to happen in the show, that Courtney is going to start to recruit people, and that actually does start the ball rolling in this episode, when she goes back at the end of the episode and starts looting all the JSA stuff that could potentially, you know, be like her staff trinkets that call out to who they're meant for. So, beyond, the Owl, Dr. Fate, Jay Jarek, all those name drops, all those little interesting trinkets and Easter eggs, you have Courtney's mom getting more development in this episode. She actually gets to be heard this time because the gambler was always shutting her down. But now that Icicle's back, and this is what I mean by he has layers, he gives her a chance. He hears her idea out about this theater and how it brings community together, because Icicle is really all for family and stuff, but that really conflicts with behavior he demonstrates later on, even though he is a villain. So, Pat, this episode got a really, really great shining moment, the moment I was waiting for, where he actually saves lives and is the hero. And I'll get in that into just a second. But Courtney, you really gotta like her enthusiasm in this episode when she's talking to Pat about getting, finding the rest of the villains, hunting them down. Courtney insists, she's still insisting Starman is her father, but her encouragement and enthusiasm towards Pat, telling him to keep his guard up. Even though she is a bit reckless and naive, she's smart enough to recognize that they could be anywhere, they could be anyone, and they need to keep their guard up. Pat just wants to let this go, but she's going to see it through regardless, so he's going to have to back her. But we get another little thing in here, the janitor looking at Stargirl with suspicion, which is really suspicious. I suspect maybe he's a JSA member, or a former JSA member, hiding in plain sight. But one thing, I thought I was really going to be disappointed with this episode. Once Pat got frozen, him and Courtney went out to check out this star. Pat got frozen immediately, and I'm like, oh man, here we go again. He's not going to do anything. And Courtney ran off and got into it with Icicle. She would have died had Pat's fist not actually worked this time. He launched that fist and it knocked Icicle out of the park, all the way to this bridge. But Icicle endangers this busload of children by freezing the bridge and causing it to almost go off. And Pat gets this great, really heroic moment where he saves the busload, and Stargirl backs his play by making a bright light that kind of blinds the students just long enough for him to save him, because he was seen by Zarek's son. Those really, to me, those were the best aspects of the episode. Now you have the slut shaming still going on, with I can't even think of her name, by Cheerleader Girl, and you have that stuff. All that, none of that's really interesting to me. You do have some humor about how Stargirl's mom was rushing home to get back to dinner. She couldn't attend the meeting that she sort of provoked, that Icicle invited her to. They had this moment where they connected, and she kind of taking a shine to her boss, but she goes home disappointed. There's no dinner around. It's just the son eating Cheetos, and he fed them to the dog. Yeah, so there's some nice little humor in there. Nothing slapstick, but could bring a smile to your face. Other than that, all the bad things in this episode, let's just skip right over that. They had good music in there, very heroic sounding music, and then they had some humorous music. But the bad stuff I find about this episode is the ice star randomly just being stumbled upon by Courtney. Now I would understand if she was in the sky and she saw it, but her just randomly walking across it, how did Icicle know she was going to stumble across it? Now, granted, you could just say that she's probably going to fly over it and see it anyway at some point. And he left it there with that intention. But I just found it kind of, And another thing that bothers me is that the staff did that thing again where it backs Courtney when she's in a conversation with Pat, and she's like, see, the staff agrees with me. But the staff, if the staff's going to have a mind of its own, the writers need to be more consistent and less use for the sake of convenience. Like the first episode, the staff went to her when she was, for some reason, in bed, fully clothed with shoes on. She had no intent to go out, but the staff showed up there, and of course, she went out with the staff. It was convenient. Episode 2, where she fought Brainwave, she was trapped and she couldn't. The staff was just barely out of reach. She couldn't. It didn't come to her, and it didn't really make sense because the staff can come to her. Obviously, it does, but that's a flaw. They need to be more consistent and stop using it so much for convenience. Right now, it's barely notable. But I could see it becoming an ongoing, consistent problem. The CGI bus crash did not look so great, but of course this is a TV show, so it looked passable enough. I can't expect them to deliver 100%. And Pat's robot looked awesome this episode. But another thing that bothered me was Icicle endangering a bus full of children when he's such a pro-family man. At first, seems like definitely something he would do as a diversion, knowing those kids would be saved. However, it seems so strange for him to then just kill his friend's son when he has no intent on emotionally manipulating the father. But then again, all he needed was the wand. I don't know if he could use it or harness its power. He throws him through the wand, though. You would think that the wand would somehow protect him if it's so powerful. So, in this episode, you end up losing 2 characters that could have been really interesting for the show moving forward. And that just leaves the widowed wife that also lost her son, that kind of made a connection with Pat in episode 2. So it would be interesting. Are they planning on building some kind of relationship between Pat and her? Because it seems like when they had those conversations in that one episode, that potential was there, and that was probably in their mind, that they're gonna somehow build something with those two. Not that like Pat's gonna cheat on Courtney's mom or anything, but they're gonna somehow do something that involve those two getting close. I'm curious to see where it goes, though. Other than, the flaws, what seems like, I can't say if it's inconsistent for the character, because he did get the wand, but it just seems weird to me that the wand didn't protect him from getting frozen, and he had to kill his son to take it to there. Of course, leaving the son alive would, if the son figured it out, would go for vengeance. Or I can't say. I can say that I really enjoyed Pat in this episode. I really liked how layered the villains were. Unfortunately, it seems that how layered Icicle seemed was undone by his actions near the end of the episode, and Zarek's gone, so he's not even relevant anymore. I would give this episode a 7 out of 10, because I really enjoyed that Pat rescue scene. That was the moment I wanted. That was really awesome. And the episode ends with Courtney looting all that JSA stuff, so expect to see Hero soon. I'm very curious to see. I liked how they took a little bit of a moment to talk about Wildcat, because I really liked the Wildcat they had It was nothing like the Wildcat they had on Arrow that they just done away with abruptly. I'd like to see a lot more flashback scenes with that Wildcat and some of these older heroes. I don't know how I'm going to feel about the new generation. I definitely want to see the older generation. I'll definitely set through watching the new generation if I can get little flashbacks of the old generation. 7 out of 10. Like, subscribe, share. Get down in the comments section below. Let me know what you thought. Anything I missed. Anything you liked, didn't like about the episode. I'm very curious to hear everybody's thoughts on this one. Hopefully Stargirl maintains an audience, because I'm enjoying the show so far. And if anybody else is enjoying this show, get down in there and comment. Tell me what you like about it. Or if you're not enjoying it, tell me what you don't like about it. Anyways, stay awesome. Rock on.